So let's talk about this now. Joining me on set is Republican Congresswoman from Virginia, Jen Kiggans. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. If there's a shutdown, I have to imagine that your district is one of the ones that will be most directly impacted. You have an incredibly large federal workforce there and a huge military presence, and military members in particular are going to be impacted by this. What can be done right now with only 3 days to go to prevent this from happening?
Yeah, well, it's frustrating for me representing in a district that is very heavily military. We also have a large veteran population and DOD civilians and contractors who work and support our military. So one of the things that I put in place was the Pay Our Troops Act that we introduced last Thursday. And this piece of legislation, this bill of mine, really guarantees that the military will get paid, and it includes the Coast Guard. We saw in 2019 that shutdown that prevented Coast Guard from getting paid for 35 days. My bill includes Coast Guard and also includes DOD civilians and contractors. It's so important that we reassure our military members that they will get a paycheck. They have earned that paycheck. I want to relieve that anxiety from them, and we've heard from so many of them.
But is it going to get on the floor? There's only 3 days left to go. Is the Speaker giving you an indication that it's going to be voted on between now and Saturday night?
So we've spoken to leadership. We started that process on Thursday and worked through part of the weekend to ensure that they knew this was important, not just for my district, but really for the country and for our national security. It's a national security issue that we take care of our men and women in uniform. So we will continue to push. Obviously, we want to not shut the government down. That is priority number one, to not shut the government. But worst case scenario, we need to have this kind of plan B or this alternative. If, worst case, it does shut down, then we want to take care of our military.
Okay, so I understand where your priorities are here, but I was there when you were with a group of your fellow members that are in districts that President Biden won in 2020, and you've expressed a level of frustration with your more conservative colleagues who are not open to anything having to do with a short-term continuing resolution. One of them, your fellow Virginian, Bob Good. What's your message to those hardliners that aren't even open to a short-term spending plan to at least give you more time to negotiate with Democrats?
Yeah, I understand the frustration, right? I think we all want to reduce some of the wasteful spending that has occurred really on both sides of the aisle. So I know that that's a priority, is to reduce that spending. But we have to do it. I think it's going to take a bipartisan approach. I think there's a lot of different voices out there, and I'm certainly protective of you don't want to cut too much, right? I think there's steps that we can take in the right direction. Republicans only control 1/2 of 1/3 of government right now, so it's a very small majority we have. So that kind of forces us to listen to other voices out there, and I think that's something for me from a more of a purpley district. I have that luxury. I can listen to both sides. I think it's going to take some compromise. We need to continue to focus on cutting spending. We need to continue to focus on things like securing the border. These have been Republican priorities. I support both of those measures, while we work towards funding the government.
But are you frustrated that Speaker McCarthy is listening more to those conservative members in your ranks as opposed to the moderates like you who are in a situation where you have to balance both the needs of constituents from both the right and the left?
Yeah, it's frustrating because I think that we're playing games with politics, right? And I think that we're playing games with our military, especially. We saw the DOD funding bill not pass 3 different times off the floor. So for me and a lot of my veteran colleagues, and why we ran for Congress, was because we care about the country. We want to put the country first, right? So that's what we are here to do. So it frustrates me when we're playing games not only with government and with Congress, but we're playing games with the military. And that's certainly not the message that we want to send to the country. We're looking at recruitment and retention numbers for the military, and we're looking at the world stage and some of our, the enemies we have out there. The world is not a safe place, so we need to make sure we're prioritizing national security.
Okay, so to that end, the Senate's prepared to pass their own version of a continuing resolution. It would include funding for defense and those members of the military in your district, but it would also include funding for Ukraine and disaster relief. Is that something you can support at this point?
Yeah, so it changes every 15 minutes. It changed from the time we had conference this morning. I think I've heard 3 iterations of what's going to happen this week. So I don't have a crystal ball. I know there are some options out there, including short-term CRs, a little bit longer CRs, long-term CRs, saying that, we don't want to shut down the government. I think that's priority number one. So we are going to entertain other options. I think it will take some bipartisan compromise.
But fundamentally, do you believe that aid to Ukraine, which is also a necessity, at least that some view it as a necessity, should be part of these negotiations, or do you view that as a separate conversation?
Yeah, so I've been a supporter of aid to Ukraine, but not a blank check, right? I think there needs to be some accountability. That's what our voters are asking for. But Putin is a thug, right? I mean, to not support Ukraine means you're supporting Putin, and we certainly want to keep America out of that fight. And right now, Ukraine is on those front lines of fighting with Russia, who continues to be an aggressor. So I want to keep my military, my military men and women and children, my children serve too, out of that fight. So it's important that we continue to fight Ukraine. It's important that we continue to educate members, maybe on my side of the aisle, who might not be as supportive. But again, not a blank check. There needs to be some accountability.
So I hear you. You sound optimistic. You want this to be successful. But are you realistic about it? I mean, we're 3 days away. There's no sort of deal that's going to pass through both the House and the Senate and get on the president's desk. I mean, do you need to brace your constituents that a shutdown is likely?
Well, I'm always a glass half full person, so I haven't
quite
given
it right yet. I mean,
well, it's debatable, but that is why we put that Pay Our Troops Act in place, is to provide that reassurance for something. I mean, people in my district that is a priority for me as a Navy veteran, as a Navy spouse, as a Navy mom now. So many people who live paycheck to paycheck, who are on those fixed incomes, who serve our great country and our great military. So if I could provide that reassurance, then I'm doing my job.
So if you're that insistent about making that happen, make sure it doesn't happen by Saturday, would you be willing to support a clean continuing resolution that just extends time out to give you more time to negotiate through a discharge petition with Democrats? Is that something that you believe is a viable option?
I think there's a real likelihood that we do pass a continuing resolution. What that looks like and what version that is, that's hypothetical right now. I think there's a lot of different versions out there. It's hard to, again, it changes every few minutes, so it's hard to say exactly what version will be passed, but I think there needs to be a show of bipartisanship. I think that's what the country wants, right? That's why I ran for Congress. I hated the rhetoric. I hated the division. I hated the infighting. So I think Americans hate that. We're tired of that, right? There's a better way to do politics, and it has to be more civilized and common sense.
All right, before you go, I need to ask you about the future of Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Some of your colleagues have threatened to call a motion to vacate, which would challenge his speakership. Do you think that's going to happen, and will there be enough Republican and maybe even Democratic votes to protect his speakership?
Yeah, I think Kevin McCarthy's been a good leader. In the military, I've seen lots of different types of leader. He's got a tough job right now, and he's doing a good one. It's hard to unify. It's a lot of different opinions out there on our side of the aisle, but I think he's doing a good job. We need to keep pushing forward. We need to continue to fund the government, first and foremost, because we're demonstrating what Republican leadership looks like. And I know in Virginia, we've got state elections this year, so really important that we demonstrate what good leadership looks like.
And we didn't even get a chance to dive into the Virginia legislative elections, which will likely be very much impacted if a shutdown happens. But Congresswoman, really enjoyed your conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.